Hello and Namaskar. Welcome to the analysis of the Hindu newspaper dated March 4th, 2023. In this video, we are going to talk about three important newspaper articles which we have taken from the Hindu newspaper, and they are going to be very important, very significant for the civil services examination. Let's now start with the first important newspaper article without any further delay. Now, the first newspaper article talks about the old pension scheme and how now you can migrate from the new pension scheme to the old pension scheme. And these kinds of newspaper articles become important for the GS paper too, that is government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of their design and implementation. Let's first understand the context of it, and then we will deep dive into what are the issues regarding it. We'll talk about the old pension scheme, new pension scheme, everything regarding this particular newspaper article. Now, in a significant decision, the government has decided to give a one-time option to select central government employees to migrate to the old pension scheme. Those who are now under the new pension scheme can migrate to the old pension scheme, provided you have applied for jobs advertised before December 22, 2003, and you have got employment under the new pension scheme after January 1, 2004. This is the precondition for migrating from from new pension scheme to the old pension scheme. Now, the order will also be applicable to the Central Armed Police Forces. Now, if this is clear, let's now talk about the old pension scheme. What exactly is this particular scheme? So this is a defined benefit pension scheme, which means that the benefits are defined. Under this scheme, the employees who joined the government service before 1st January 2004 were entitled to a defined pension upon retirement, and the pension amount was based on a formula that took into account the employees' year of service and their average pay in the last few years of the service. But you will get the defined pension, you will get the right amount of pension. Now you will get the guaranteed pension. Now, the scheme provided a guaranteed pension to the employees and their families in case of death or disability. If I die, my family will get the pension. This was the benefit of the old pension scheme. Now, in 2004, we changed or we switched to the new pension scheme. Now, the new pension scheme is basically a defined contribution pension scheme introduced by the government of India in 2004. Now it is available to all the citizens between ages of 18 and 65, including employees from the public, private and unorganized sectors. And under the new pension scheme, an individual can contribute towards their retirement savings and accumulate a corpus over the years. Now you will contribute towards your retirement savings, and the government will also contribute some of the amount towards it. Now it is invested, this particular corpus, this particular amount is invested in various asset class such as equity, corporate bonds and government security. And who does that? Pension fund managers. Now this particular scheme is managed by professional fund managers appointed by the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, and the returns generated by the investments are reflected in the individual's pension account. Now, this particular scheme, that is the new pension scheme, offers two types of accounts, that is tier 1 and tier 2. Now, the tier 1 is the primary account and it is mandatory for all the subscribers. You basically do not have to pay, or you will get exemptions in the taxes if your income does not exceed a maximum amount of 1 point, or your contributions do not exceed 1.5 lakh per annum. But withdrawals from this account are subjected to certain restrictions. Now, if you have some certain kind of restrictions in the tier 2, in the tier 2 you have relaxations in the restrictions. Now you will be taxed in this particular regard. So it is a voluntary account that allows subscribers to withdraw their savings at any time without any restrictions. But the contributions made to this particular account do not qualify for the tax benefits. In tier 1, you will get the tax benefits. In tier 2, you will not get the tax benefits, right? Tier 1 is primary account. All have to, or it is mandatory for all the subscribers. Tier 2 account is not mandatory for all the subscribers. It is a voluntary account. You can subscribe to it. Now the NPS basically aims to provide a sustainable pension system for all the Indian citizens and promote a culture of savings for the retirement. Now the OPS, that is the old pension scheme, provided the direct benefit pension scheme. But in the new pension scheme, what happens is that we are contributing towards it. So it means that the government gets more relaxations. It has discarded its particular duty regarding it. So let's now understand the difference between the new pension scheme and the old pension scheme. So basically, the old pension scheme guarantees a lifelong income, that is post retirement. But in a new pension scheme, it is a participatory scheme where employees contribute to their pension corpus from their salaries with matching contribution from the government, which means that the responsibility in the old pension scheme of the government was much more, but in the new pension scheme there is a certain kind of contribution which the government pays. It does not pays the complete retirement benefits, right? So now the government in the old pension scheme used to bear the expenditure incurred on the pension, but in this particular regard, in the new pension scheme, the funds are invested in earmarked investment schemes through pension fund managers. Now, under the old pension scheme, a monthly payment is assured where the amount is equivalent to 50% of the last drawn salary. But in the new pension scheme, 60% of the you are basically contributing towards that particular fund. So 60% of the corpus will be tax free and it can be withdrawn, while the remaining 40% is invested is in annuities, which is taxed, and you will get the benefits on a monthly basis in the new pension scheme from the 40% corpus, right? So this is the basic difference between the NPS and the OPS. Let's now talk about this particular organization which manages this particular scheme or these two schemes. Now the EPFO is responsible for the employees Provident Fund, and that is why it is a statutory body, and it is a statutory body established by the Government of India under the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act. This particular act basically governs the employees provident fund organization, right? So EPFO is responsible for managing the provident fund, pension and insurance schemes for employees working in organized sectors in India. Now EPFO manages three schemes, that is the employment provident fund. You all know about EPF, which provides basically the highest kind of returns, right? Now it also manages the employees pension scheme. It is also responsible for the employees deposit linked insurance scheme. Let's now talk about them in this particular subsequent order. Now the employees provident fund is basically a retirement benefit scheme for employees working in an organized sector. Under this particular scheme, both the employer and employee contribute a certain amount of the employee's basic salary and the dearness allowance towards a provident fund account. Now the EPF balance can be withdrawn at the time of the retirement or resignation from that particular company, right? If you are working for a private organization, then if at the time of resignation, you can basically withdraw the balance or the EPF balance, though it comes with some of the restrictions, right? Now the next one is the employees pension scheme. Now this particular scheme provides pension benefits to employees who have completed 10 years of service. Now the pension amount is based on the employees years of service and the average salary, right? So now we also have the employees deposit linked insurance scheme. Now this particular scheme provides life insurance benefits to the family of the employee in the case of the employee's death during the service period. Now the insurance amount is based on the employee's salaries and the contributions made towards the EDLI scheme, right? So these are the three sub schemes that the EPFO manages, right? So this is it regarding the EPFO. Let's now talk about the constitutional provisions. What does the constitution has to say? So now the pension regulation does not find any direct mention in the Constitution of India, but we have Article 41 of the Directive Principles of the State Policy. Now this is not enforceable through the court of law, but it basically states that the state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity and development, make effective provisions for securing the right to work, to education, to public assistance in the cases of unemployment, old age, sickness and disablement, and in other cases of underserved want. Now this particular term old age is important, and this accrues to the fact that, or this provides to the fact that the government is responsible for the retirement benefits as well, right? And that is why we have the old pension scheme and the new pension scheme. We have the retirement benefits and all of these things. So this is it regarding the constitutional provisions. Let's not talk about how this particular move is going to change the lives of the people. So basically, this particular move is going to only change the lives of a few people, right? And who are these people? If you have applied for the jobs advertised before December 22, 2003, but joined the service in 2004, then you can and if you come under the NPS, then you can shift to the old scheme, that is the OPS, and get all the benefits. That is the fixed pension you can get, 50% of the last drawn salary, right? So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Let's now head to the next important newspaper article. Now this particular newspaper article talks about the India's health sector, right? So World Bank is going to lend $1 billion to the support India's health sector, and in particular the particular scheme of the government, that is the Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, right? ABHIM. Now we are going to talk about it, but why is this particular newspaper article important? Now this is important for the GS paper 2, that is issues related to the health. Let's first understand the context of it, and then we will go deep dive into this particular newspaper article. Now this particular newspaper article says that the World Bank is lending up to $1 billion to help India with preparedness for the future pandemics, as well as to strengthen its health infrastructure. And whenever we talk about the health infrastructure, then a particular scheme comes into our mind, that is Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, which was launched in October 2021, and it seeks to improve public health infrastructure across the country. Now this particular loan of $1 billion will be provided through or it can be divided into two complementary loans of $500 million each, right? So now the first $500 million is going to be regarding the public health systems for pandemic preparedness program, which will support the government's effort to prepare India's surveillance system to detect and report epidemics of the potential international concern. And the other $500 million of the $1 billion, which is going to be given by the World Bank, it is going towards the enhanced health service delivery program, which will support government's effort to strengthen service delivery through a redesigned primary healthcare model. And this particular redesigning includes improved household access to the primary healthcare facilities, stronger links between each household and its primary care facility through regular household visits, risk assessment of the non-communicable diseases. Now, this particular EHSDP and PHSPP is going to benefit the health infrastructure of the country in the long run, right? So now the both PHSPP and EHSDP loans from the International Bank for the Reconstruction and Development. Now International Bank of Reconstruction and Development comes under the World Bank, so don't confuse between that. So it will have this particular loan from the IBRD, that is the part of the World Bank, will have a full maturity or final maturity of 18.5 years, including a grace period of 5 years. So basically India can pay it in the next 18.5 years, and it comes with a grace of 5 years, which makes it 23.5 years, right? So now India's performance in the health has improved over the period of time according to the World Bank. Now World Bank estimates suggest that India's expectancy or the life expectancy has increased from 58 in 1990 to 69.8 in 2020, which means that India's life expectancy, that the people or the average life expectancy, people now live a longer life due to the improved health infrastructure. Now this is higher than the average of the country's income level, which means that we are doing very good in the health sector, right? So now what exactly is this World Bank, or in particular we will also talk about the IBRD. Now, World Bank is an international organization that provides financial and technical assistance to the developing countries around the world, and its primary goal is to reduce poverty and promote sustainable development across the world. Established in 1944, it is headquartered in the Washington, D.C., United States, and it basically consists of two entities, that is IBRD and IDA. IBRD stands for International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and we have the IDA, that is the International Development Association, right? So now IBRD provides loans and other financial assistance to middle income and credit worthy low income countries, and if you are not credit worthy, then you will go to the IDA for the loans. Now IDA provides interest free loans and grants to the world's poorest country, and that is why the IBRD is providing the loans to the country, because India is credit worthy and at the same time it is a middle income country, right? It doesn't have a lot of income, but we have some kind of income, and that is why the assistance or the financial assistance is provided by the IBRD, that is the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, right? So now the World Bank also has other specialized units like the International Finance Corporation, that is IFC, MIGA, that is Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, and then we have ICSID, which is International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. Now it's not worthy to talk about these particular organizations because these are very specialized organizations. We'll talk about them in the later or the future whenever these particular organizations come into. What's important is to understand IBRD, which provides the financial assistance to the middle income and credit worthy low income countries, right? So this is it regarding the World Bank. Let's now talk about the particular scheme which has been funded by the World Bank, which is the Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. Now ABHIM is basically aiming to strengthen the health infrastructure of the country, particularly in the rural and the remote areas, by providing funding for the creation of new health and wellness centers and upgrading and modernizing existing ones. Though it is present in the rural and remote areas, it is focusing more on it, but it also talks about the urban care as well. Now it is launched, or it was launched in 25th October 2021, and it is an important component of the Ayushman Bharat Yojana. Ayushman Bharat Yojana consists of two parts, right? The first one is the Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, which focuses on basically the improvement of health infrastructure in the country. Then we also have the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which provides basically 5 lakh per family per year, right? So this is to be kept in mind. But this particular component of the Ayushman Bharat, that is the Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, is very, very important. So under this mission, the country has set a target to create 1,50,000 health and wellness centers. So this is basically the old information. The new information is that we haven't been able to do that, but we will do it in the future. Now these centers will provide a range of primary health care services, including maternal and child health care, non-communicable diseases, screening and management, and emergency medical services. All of this is going to be provided by it. Let's now talk about the objectives of this particular scheme. So this particular scheme seeks to create a network of health and wellness centers that provide comprehensive primary healthcare services to the population, and it seeks to provide access to quality healthcare services to vulnerable and marginalized sections of society, including women and children. And it is also going to promote the use of technology in healthcare services and management, right? So this is it regarding the objectives. Let's now talk about the sub schemes which come under the PMABHIM, right? Now PM Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission consists of various sub schemes. These sub schemes are divided into two categories, that is the centrally sponsored schemes, which are basically sponsored by the central government, and then we have the central sector scheme, which are basically completely implemented by the center, right? Centrally sponsored schemes are implemented with the state governments, by the central government with the support of the state government, but the central sector scheme are implemented basically by the central government itself, right? So now centrally sponsored schemes comprise of the Ayushman Bharat HWC, that is the health and wellness centers in the urban and the rural areas. Then we have the block public health units. Then we also have the integrated district public health laboratories in all districts. Then we also have the critical care hospital blocks. This is it regarding the centrally sponsored schemes, which finds funding from the state government as well as the central government, right? Now we have the central sponsored schemes, we have the central sector scheme components, which are basically completely funded by the central government. Now we have the critical care health hospital blocks in 12 central institutions Now we have strengthening surveillance of the infectious diseases and outbreaks, and in the similar fashion, we have a lot of sub schemes regarding the PM ABHIM, right? So this is it regarding the PM ABHIM, that is Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission. Let's now talk about what can be the way ahead, or what is the way ahead for India in the health sector. Now, India has to improve its health infrastructure, no doubt about that, but it has also to improve in the future pandemic preparedness, because there was a lot of panic in the COVID-19. India was able to deal with it very properly, but there was a panic, right? And taking help from the global institutions is obvious, and it is also mandatory to take loans from them and improve the health infrastructure in the long run, right? So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article. Let's now head to the next important newspaper article. Now, this particular newspaper article talks about the Kuno National Park and the problem regarding the cheetahs, right? There was a reintroduction of the cheetahs in the Kuno National Park, which is basically in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Now it has landed in some kind of problems. We are going to talk about the problems, and then we will talk about where exactly is this Kuno National Park. We are also going to talk about other things as well. Now, this kind of newspaper article becomes important for the prelim section, that is the National Parks and Wildlife Sanctuaries, right? So now Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh, which currently hosts 20 cheetahs brought in Africa, does not have enough prey to sustain all the animals. And according to some of the estimates by the experts, it can only accommodate around 15 cheetahs. Now, Dr. Jhala, who is a former dean of the Wildlife Institute of India, which basically is present in Dehradun, says that at present there are about 20 cheetahs. Now, the cheetahs main prey per square kilometer available at the KNP, a sharp decline from the nearly 60 cheetahs per square kilometer that could be found in the park in 2014. Now, the cheetahs population is decreasing. Earlier we used to have 60 cheetahs per square kilometer. Now we have 20 cheetahs per square kilometer. Now basically what happens is that the cheetah is not going to find enough prey, and that becomes a major problem. So what can be the way forward in this regard? So some of the cheetahs can be shifted to the adjacent protected areas like the Mukundara Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan, and we also have upcoming the wildlife sanctuaries such as Ganga Sagar and Nuradehi wildlife sanctuaries, which can be prepared for the cheetahs with an investments worth around 750 crores, and it can be suitable for the cheetahs at the in the long run. And then we also can introduce more new cheetahs, which are the primary food of the cheetahs, right? And this can be very, very wonderful if we can do that. So this is the way forward regarding it. Let's now talk about what exactly is this cheetah. So cheetah basically is the one of the oldest of the big cats, which has ancestors that can be traced back more than 5 million years to the Miocene era. Now this species becomes very important because this species is basically very less in number. Now the cheetahs are also the world's fastest land mammal that lives in the Africa and Asia. If we talk about the protection, then they get a lot of protection, and they are very few in number. According to IUCN status, they are vulnerable, or African cheetahs are vulnerable. Asiatic cheetah, which are very less in number, are critically endangered. According to the CITES list, they both find mention in the appendix 1 of the list, African cheetahs as well as the Asiatic cheetahs. Now, if we talk about the African cheetahs, then they are more in number as compared to the Asiatic cheetah. Asiatic cheetah are basically 40 to 50 and only found in the Iran. In India, Asiatic cheetah are dead. They are extinct. And at this particular point of time, we have reintroduced the cheetahs in India. 12 from the Namibia, 8 from the South Africa, something like that figure. Don't quote me on that. Now the distribution, we can say 40 or 50 cheetahs, Asiatic cheetahs, are only present in Iran, and African cheetahs are basically 6,500 to 7,000 in number, but this particular number is not very big. And if we talk about the physical characteristics, then the African cheetah is basically bigger in size as compared to the Asiatic cheetah, and the Asiatic cheetah is smaller and paler than the African cheetah and has more fur, a smaller head and a longer neck, usually have red eyes, and they have more cat-like appearance, right? So this is it regarding the cheetah. Let's now talk about the Kuno National Park, which hosts these cheetahs in India. Now, Kuno National Park is a national park in the Shiopur district of the MP, established in 1981. And when it was established in 1981, it was called a wildlife sanctuary because of its very small size. Now it has become the national park with the introduction of cheetahs coming up and all of these factors. It has become very big. Now in 2018, it was given the national status of a national park, and it is part of the Kathiar Gir dry deciduous forest, and Kuno National Park has spread over a area of 748.76 square kilometer, and one of the main tributaries of the Chambal, that is the Kuno River, cuts across the whole length of the national park division, and that is why this particular tributary of the Chambal is Kuno River, right? And that is why the naming of the Kuno National Park is done on the basis of this particular Kuno River. So this is it regarding the Kuno National Park. We have talked about the cheetahs, we have talked about both kinds of cheetahs, that is African cheetah, Asiatic cheetah, and we have talked about the vulnerability of these cheetahs as well. So this is it regarding this particular newspaper article, and this is it for the day. Thank you from my side. Do like and share the video and subscribe to this channel. Have a good day. Bye.